30 minutes. That's what I got.
All right.
Alright, welcome to our first inaugural show. I'm Robert Biggs.
I'm Robin Waddick.
And we're here to help talk about education today. Today we're going to talk about dieting. So, what's your experience with diets?
My experience with diet has been all over the place. I have, in my lifetime, I think I've tried every diet out there. Like, you name it, I've tried it, and nothing, like they would all work for like a short period of time, but then, you know, as with most diets, you eat a certain way for like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and then you go back to eating like you were before you had the diet.
Right,
So nothing worked. Like I would lose weight and then I would just go back to eating like crap.
Right, pretty frustrating, right?
Yeah, it was horrible. And then like I never learned like about food itself, like good food versus bad food. You know, growing up, we ate a lot of fast food because my mom worked at Carl's Jr. So
For sure, yeah. It's
I
pretty convenient.
yeah, you know, I ate a lot of that. But and growing up, I didn't know any different. But then as I got to an adult, you know, became an adult, teenager, adult, I knew I was eating wasn't good. Like,
Yeah.
because you see it, you know, just
For sure. And then pretty much you just probably diet like, well, maybe if I eliminate bread, I'll lose weight. And it does, you know, for a little while, like you said, as a practice of exclusion, but eventually you want bread because you love bread.
exactly.
You know, or maybe like in the 80s, it's a practice of eliminating fat, but eventually you're going to want sausage, bacon, steak. You're going to want that.
Absolutely.
So that's not a long-term solution. So did you find a long-term solution?
I did.
Okay.
And I actually, we kind of started, not last year, but the year before, we kind of started with some other friends of ours, taking like this, a nutrition course, so to speak.
Okay.
I can't even think of the name of it right now, like I totally went blank. But it was some nutrition thing that was online. But the one thing that I didn't like about it is it would like tell you what to do, but it wouldn't explain why you were doing it. It would be like, okay, you should,
sure.
you know, you should eat until you're like 80% full, so you don't overstuff yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it never explained like the reasoning behind why you're doing it.
For sure.
And it would say you should track your food, but it didn't help you like understand what you were tracking or why you were tracking.
Okay.
So last year,
Mm-hmm.
when by divine intervention I call it, I ended up here at Remedy.
Okay.
You know, you and Aaron actually took the time to teach me and Steph about food itself, like good food versus bad food, crap food, basically just eating clean,
Okay.
and not eating the processed crap.
So clean has different definitions for
That's
everybody. So
you know, clean, you know, basically you can grow it. You
Okay.
know, like
yeah.
not processed, or as little processed as possible.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. How'd you feel after
And
that?
that has been actually a game changer for us.
Okay.
You know, in the last year since we've been here, I've personally lost like 31 pounds.
That's amazing.
And that has just pretty much, I mean, yeah, we work out, but that's pretty much been from changing our diet. Like, we cut sodas out completely.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, liquid calories are huge. You could even get a lot of liquid calories through milk and even juices, you know, normal staples in our American diet, right? And it's just a ton of calories. Even milk, you think milk's really healthy, but it has lactose, which is another sugar. There's more sugar in a cup of milk than there is protein, so.
And yeah, knowledge is power actually, because like you said, liquid calories, but what I learned, what we both learned is the serving size. Like
Yeah.
even
I'm a family of 4.
yeah,
That's what I eat.
yeah, even in good things like peanut butter is good for you, but
So
it's
easy.
only 2 tablespoons is a serving.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
adds
like-
up really fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
like when we're kids, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is probably like 600, 800 calories. You know, just in this little sandwich. It
Yeah.
adds up really fast, and if you don't know, then you're just guessing, and that's where you'll hit a lot of plateaus because you have no idea where you're going.
Right.
And usually most people practice diet and exercise, which is the opposite of what we do. What we want to do is nourish, feed our training. So we train and eat. So I want to perform better, and if you take care of your training will take care of you in the end, as opposed to the opposite. If I'm taking away from my training, like dieting and exercising, and I'm taking away from my training, my chance to build muscle mass. And so I want to make sure I'm well nourished for each training session, so that way I'm building more fat, building more muscle, and over time that muscle is going to burn more fat, as opposed to if I restricted my calories and took away from my workout and my workout was subpar, and then I don't feel good about my workout, and also I'm hurt from being calorie deficient, and then you start to develop something called diet fatigue, and that's where you just get tired of dieting and exercising, and then you rebound, you do the yo-yo dieting, so the best strategy that I found is like in what we use like the periodization method, to where we ramp up to where it's super strict, and the super strict part is very small time, and then we ramp up, and we're always focused on training more than losing body fat, because losing body fat means you'll be focusing on the wrong thing, and there's only one thing you're focusing on is what you weigh in the morning. But if I'm focusing on my training, one day I could be focused on, well, I'd like to have better curls, heavier curls, bigger bench press. So it directs my attention towards a wider span of things instead of just this one thing. And you're going to hit a lot of plateaus, and there's going to be a lot of changing. Sometimes you'll be adding muscle mass as you're depleting body fat, so the scale won't reflect that at all. But I could tell when my deadlift gets better because I lift more weight, or I'm not as tired in between sets. And that's the best way. So you also want to make sure that you're recording your macros as well, so that way you could go, man, I felt really good on that workout. What did I have? And you can reflect on that. Like it's next week, or next week you feel like shit, you can see the difference between your best day and your good day, and you can start to micromanage your nutrition and your training that way. And I would also use that same method for my training. I know you guys do it in Aaron's class, where you just record everything, so that way you never forget, you never go backwards. And if you're going backwards and there's something wrong, so if I can't lift this heavy in my deadlift, so I would reflect back on my nutrition. That would be the first thing. What's different in my nutrition from my 1 rep PR? What's different in my sleep, from my 1 rep PR? And all the data that you can collect is gonna get you to your goal a lot faster. So if you have the discipline to do that, you're gonna have the freedom for sure. Like we're talking about discipline equals freedom, right? That's our thing. So if I took the discipline and did all my food prep on one day, have the freedom for the rest of the week to not worry about eating, to not worry about my macros, to not worry about where my next meal is going to come from. So instead of scrambling on that day, it's like, what I got in the cabinet, all right, tuna and shit like that, I already know what I got. When I go to the grocery store, I buy everything in 7s. So I get 7 cans of tuna, I know I got that, 7 power bars, 7 apples, whatever your thing is. So you have something for every day, so that way you're not hungry. And that's the best way to optimize your results.
And I like how you said that. The prepping is a huge thing that I've started doing. We plan out our meals for the week, so we know what we're gonna have. And then, because before I would just, go to work, I wouldn't take a lunch. Yeah. I would stop. Oh, what do they got at QT? Mm-hmm. Well, nothing great at QT. I mean,
best case scenario. Okay.
You know what I mean? You could, probably nitpick and find something, but you know what I mean? You just go in and be like, oh look, there's pizza, or they have
for
those
sure,
sandwiches,
absolutely, that's when it happens.
But since being here, I take my lunch every day. I plan out what I'm gonna take, so I know what I'm gonna have. There's no issues. Even when I come to the gym at 4 in the morning, I know what I'm gonna have for breakfast. I know what I'm having for lunch. Like I have it all planned out so that I know. And it does take discipline to do that though, because it's very easy to just be like, I'll just go and wing it. I'm sure I'll do okay. I won't do that bad, but really, QT? That's bad enough.
Yeah. Anything fast food is horrible, because you gotta think, when they're selling fast food, they're in the business of selling a product to make a profit. Right. So, in order to be competitive with everybody else, they have so in order to make that profit, they're going to offer a cheaper product, cheaper meat, cheaper bread, cheaper grain, whatever it is. As opposed to yourself, if you made the same product, you could have a more healthy and nutritious meal, probably even for less money if you did it yourself. So hamburgers, for instance, you could get better bread and better meat, control the quality of your ingredients, and have the same exact thing, and I guarantee you'll feel healthier, and you'll save money, and you'll save time. I mean, most of the time, it takes me like 45 minutes to an hour and a half to do a week's worth of meal prep. And that I just got it all dialed in. So unless I'm doing new stuff, but I just got dialed in, so I could make my peanut butter cookies while I'm making my meat in the grill, and then I'm just doing all these things. I put my rice in a pot or whatever it is. And it's all going at once. 1 week of food, hour, boom. I got my rice, I got my meat. I got my meat for my rice, I got my meat for my eggs. I got my fruit, I bought my fruit, so I got that going, and I did all my vegetables, so everything's ready to go. And everything should be measured out, or what I do is I put all my meat into a big thing, and it's already chopped and everything, so that way, when I go and make my eggs in the morning, I just weigh 5 ounces of beef, boom, done. Put that in my eggs, it's done. I already know that's the macros I need to reach for my goals at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like that. And another thing I like how you said is not focusing on like dieting, because so many times I know for myself I would get caught up on what was on the scale, and I wouldn't be thinking about anything else but what was on the scale, and that deterred from everything I was doing, because I would get depressed, or you're not seeing the results on the scale, even though maybe my clothes are fitting better, or different things. You're getting stronger and your clothes are falling off, but it's that number on the scale, and
for sure
that I had to get away from that. I had to actually get away from. I would be on the scale every morning stuff like, what are you doing? It's not going to change, it's
right. Yeah,
it doesn't change like that. But so to focus on the overall picture, clean eating, training good, and keeping track. Keeping track for me is huge. I learned so much. Like, an apple has like 30 some carbs. Like, who would have thought?
Right.
I would have never have guessed. And like, apples are really good for you. That's what they say, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's not horrible. But it's not. You have to look at when you're looking at the macros that you're trying to intake versus.
Absolutely. Trying to fill those macros and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation as well, if you're paying attention to your calories and what you're doing, like not just your calories, but your macros, and you're feeding your training instead of dieting and exercising, what that does? Doesn't take Oreos off the table, doesn't take bread off the table, doesn't take French fries off the table, because I know exactly what I need to do. So if I'm gonna go to a birthday party, it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna have some cake. So in the morning, I'm not gonna eat oatmeal, because I know a slice of cake is this many carbs, and I'm eating this much oatmeal, so I need to get rid of these many carbs so I can have that cake, for the day, and it shouldn't have any huge repercussions. Diets are designed to fail by nature, I believe, because you'll see success up to a certain point. You'll see it'll work up to 6 weeks, and then maybe you'll stick with it for a little bit longer, and so, well, maybe I should start cutting more calories. That's what it is, and that's the opposite, because you're breaking down muscle tissue. It's slowing down your metabolism, and then when you finally come back off that diet, you rebound, you're going to come back fatter than you were before, because you lost that muscle tissue, you slowed your metabolism down, and so then you go back to the till. So, well, I had really good success with this diet, so I'm going to try it again. I just failed the diet. So no, the diet is designed to fail. The best way to succeed is to educate yourself. How many calories do I need a day? What is my macro ratio, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of variables in there, and there's a lot of information and a lot of misinformation out there. So are you an athlete? What is your age? Genetics have a play to do with it. And you can find out by yourself, but probably the best thing to do is to hire a coach, and then they'll take the time frame way off. So it'll go from because it took me 10 years to acquire this knowledge, and I gave you 10 years of knowledge in 12 weeks.
Absolutely.
So that's the benefit of having a coach, that especially one that has experience, So I have myself a little over 10 years after I got out of school, so 10 years, so 2008, Yeah, so 12 years of coaching people in nutrition, and I went through a lot of different things. And I did what they said, standard American diet. That's what they taught me in school. And so, but I had hypertension. I was like, this makes no sense. Why do I have hypertension? I'm an athlete. I train like every day, if not multiple times a day, and I'm following the guidelines that the government or school gave me with the food pyramid. But it's like 60% carbs, 60% sugar, 60% like pastas are on there, rice is on there, you know, and that's the base. And then it's like very little fat. So if you take that pyramid and you flip it upside down, you'll be closer to where you need to be, you know, more of a fat. So the fat, you know, it could come from avocado, olive oils, olives, cheese, you know, even dairy and stuff like that. Meats have fat in it. Eggs, those are all good for you. It's good energy.
Right, yeah. And I like how, well, Aaron also puts it, you know, it's not, you don't just, here's what you need to do and here's how, you know, here's what you need to eat. You have to like adjust it, like, it's like a block. You're like adjusting it and then you'll find what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just happens, you know, because everybody's not the same. And I think a lot of diets are just a standard, this is what you do, but no, it doesn't teach you anything. You're just doing what somebody tells you to do. You don't know why you're doing it or anything. But like you in this last year have taught me so much about nutrition, about, you know, protein, fats, and carbs, and, you know, better carbs and not so good carbs, even within the good stuff. You know, there's better choices out there. And to take the time to actually like read the labels when you're buying,
it's huge,
you know, you're buying like spaghetti sauce,
right?
You know, look at the ingredients. And we started doing that, and it was like amazing. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, then you probably shouldn't be eating it. Like if you don't know what it is.
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to be successful and not think about it, just eat how we would in nature. So pull it off a tree, pull it out of the ground, or slaughter. You know, that you'd be successful there. Anything that's in a box is processed, and it's somebody selling a product. So I want to sell a product that tastes good. I'm going to put a lot of sugar and or fat in it. You know, and there's going to be preservatives because it has to be on the shelf for a long time before it sells. So there's all types of chemicals in that process. Versus like, yeah, even if I buy an apple, there's chemicals on it like herbicides and pesticides, but it's a lot less processed, and there's stuff I could do. I could buy like organic stuff, you know, where they only use pesticides or herbicides or are very limited. They do. There, you can go online and look up the Dirty Dozen, and it'll tell you what the dirtiest ones are. So like usually it's like blueberries, strawberries, and some other ones like that they spray with pesticides, you know, and then. So if those are in your diet, then that would definitely spend the money to have organic ones in that regard.
Right.
You know, then like if I was going to spend money on another product that I get the most bang for my buck, it would be eggs. You know, I preach this all the time. Most of the eggs that you buy, like Eggland Farms or whatever it's called, Hickman's Farms, a lot of the chickens are stacked on top of each other, and they're in these cages, and then they get a lot of cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it reduces your testosterone and all your fat-burning hormones, and it holds all the stress. So those chickens are under stress their whole life, and then you're going to consume their egg, which has a lot of cortisol on it. So that's why you want to have a free-range chicken, so that way it doesn't have all the stress hormones, and it's natural. Another thing that they say is like organic eggs. You got to learn how to read in between the lines of what they mean there. Organic eggs. So what the fuck is organic about an egg?
Right.
You know, it's an embryo. You know, so how can it be organic? So the organic part is they fed grains and stuff to the chickens. So the chickens are eating grains, but the problem is chickens aren't vegetarians. They're carnivores. They eat bugs, they eat scorpions. I've seen them eat mice. They're like tiny little dinosaurs. So if you grab like a free range, it doesn't have to be organic or whatever, just free range, non-vegetarian egg, and you compare it to the commercial one, you crack it open, one's going to be this dull yellow color, and the other one's going to be this bright orange, vibrant color. Check it out. You know, they could sell, like I get happy eggs, or you could go to the farmer's market, even better yet, you know, and get those eggs, and you'll see the big difference. And the difference is that egg has a lot more nutrients, it's a lot richer in vitamin E and some other vitamins as well.
That's very interesting.
So that's the best bang for your buck, you know, it's like, what, $1.50 or $2 for the cheap eggs, $5 or $6 for the expensive eggs. It's
Right.
worth your money versus buying like, grass-fed beef, which is like $18 a pound, you know. I could spread those eggs out a lot further than I could spread the beef, and egg is a pretty solid protein,
Right.
you know, as far as that goes.
Yeah. No, it's just important to like read, like you said, read the labels, because the ingredients make a huge difference, and the serving size. I mean, people don't pay attention to that. I never used to pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
Serving size on spaghetti sauce is like a quarter of a cup, but
Absolutely, what is the serving size?
who puts a quarter of a cup on their spaghetti? I mean,
Right, you gotta pay attention to that,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
It adds up really fast, especially in those type of deals, you know. Looking at a serving size of meat, like you would say, hey, here's my serving size of spaghetti, really small, or serving size of steak.
absolutely, yeah.
You know, so you can weigh out the difference. So I'd rather have 500 calories of steak than 500 calories of pasta.
Right. And even how you said, making the meal yourself at home versus like, if I want tacos,
Yeah.
I don't need to go to Taco Bell.
Right.
But if we make that at home, not only the nutrition difference, but even the calorie difference, everything is, you know,
Absolutely.
like you said, they're in the market for making money,
Yeah.
and they put all this crap in it that you don't necessarily put in it, but you can make a better product at home that is way better for you and probably
For a
would
minimal
taste
amount
way
of
better.
time.
Yeah, and it's easy. Even hamburgers, like stuff makes way better burgers than McDonald's. That's for sure.
For sure, I agree.
But
Alright, well,
that
you got
makes a huge
anything,
difference.
any advice you'd pass on to anybody that's,
My advice is track everything you eat, weigh it. You gotta weigh it out. Get a food scale. They're really cheap at Walmart, or anywhere. Just get a food scale, weigh out your food, and prepare your food ahead of time. And always be ready for wherever you're going. You know what your week consists of. You know, plan it out.
Absolutely.
And if something comes up, you at least have something.
yeah, absolutely, that's very solid advice. My advice on top of that is, feed your training, and your training will take care of you. You take care of your training will take care of you. So that way, you're building a lot of muscle mass, take 1 year to build up a bunch of muscle mass, and then the next year, burn off body fat. Figure your nutrition out, you know,
Yeah,
recording your macros like you were talking about, doing food prep, all that stuff is solid.
I like that. I like that. It takes discipline, but like you said, discipline equals freedom.
Absolutely. Alright, well, catch you guys later. Alright, that seems pretty